Hey guys, welcome to Intro to Coding, Files and Folders. Now, we're going to go over, files and folders in this video. If you know what files and folders are, or some kinds of like directories, just skip this video. This is just the very bare bones basics of like what a computer has. So yeah, if you know this stuff already, see you in the next one. If you just want to watch anyways, cool. Stick around. So why we're going to go over this video is because files and folders are actually the, again, bare bones basics of a computer. It's really the two things that make up a computer, outside of like hardware and stuff like that. Like in an operating system, you have either something is either a file or it is a folder or a directory. Directory and folder are kind of like interchangeable. You will usually hear the word directory used more often in terms of like any types of coding tutorials or something like that. People will probably just say it's a directory. So just keep that in mind. So why is this important? It's important because you need to actually know how to organize things in your computer and make sure that when you are going to write code, you're going to be creating files. You need to know what types of files you need to create. And there's a lot of really simple mistakes you could make if you're not really sure how to create a file and organize things, and it can just become a mess. So we're going to go over a little bit of that in this video. Let's jump into my desktop and let's create some folders. So this is my desktop. You can see like if you have Windows 11, this is probably what your desktop looks like, or at least pretty similar. My desktop is bare. It wasn't before I started making this video. It was a mess. But hey, that's the way of things. So in order to create a folder or a directory on Windows, you can simply right click. And again, if your pop-up here looks different, it's probably just because you're on a different operating or a different version of Windows, or if you're in Linux, the right click will still work, just may say something slightly different. So in this case, we can go to New and Folder. And that's all we need to do. So we can click Folder, creates your folder, and you can name it whatever you want. Hi YouTube. Oh my goodness, there we go. So here's our folder we have called My YouTube. So if we go into this folder or directory, we can see Hi YouTube is the name, and where is it? It's on the desktop. So if we click this, we can see the entire directory structure. So this is where on the computer this is. So if we wanted to access this directory or this folder from code, we would likely need this entire directory structure. So you could just highlight all of this and copy and paste it into your code if you needed to point to it. We'll get into that type of stuff way later on, but it's still kind of a useful thing to know about. So yeah, we have a folder here, but why do we want this? So as you can see, I just threw on a file, just a JPEG. We can open this up and see this is my dog, Sami. Get some dog points with one of her little toys here. She's just taking a little rest. So say I had like dozens of pictures, right, on my desktop here. So I can just copy paste, and now I have like a bunch of Samis, right? The dream. So now that we have all of these, I mean, I'm sure if you don't organize your things, it can probably look a little bit messy. Something like this, where your desktop just is cluttered with files. So one of the best things you can do here is just have a folder and put your things into there. So you can just select them all. You can select one at a time. If you hold Control, or if you're on a Mac, you can hold Command and select multiple. You can also click and then Control drag, and it'll add them as well. Or you can click and Shift click, and it will basically select everything from the start to the end. And you can kind of think of this as like you can see how this is kind of tiled, how each of them has a space where it could go. So it goes from basically the top of that to the bottom of that. So left to right, like you're reading a page. Okay, so now that we have all these files, let's put them all into here. There we go. Our desktop looks a lot cleaner, and we can go in, and now we can see all of the photos here. If we want to get rid of one of these or all of them, we can again select all of them. You can select all at the same time using Ctrl+A or Command+A, and then you can again Control-click to deselect something. So now I have everything selected but the original, and now I can just delete. And simple as that. So there we go. Now my desktop is a lot cleaner. Obviously, it's not a super realistic example where you just have a file and you just make a bunch of duplicates, but that's a way to do it. Sure, while this is all fine and dandy, let me just show you an example of a project I had and why it can be important. So this is a project I've been making just in my spare time called Quizem. The idea is just to be able to make your own little quiz online. This is a Vue project, so it will be a website that you could go to. And so this is the full project structure. And then if you go into the source, this is where some of the code is. So you can see the views here. You can see the store, the routing model, models themselves, components, and assets. This is just the basic assets for a Vue project. But obviously, if I had all of this in the same directory, or if in this source directory, it would be really difficult to find, say, if I wanted to find the store. I wouldn't, I could just remember it's called counter store or quiz store, but I'd have to go in, try and find those files. But if I have them in a stores directory or folder here, I can just quickly go in and that's it. There they are. I know that they're there, right? Organization in a computer is extremely important just for peace of mind. You can have things scattered around, and if that works for you, that's fine. But typically in a project, and like projects we'll make later on in this tutorial session, or not session, I guess series, you'll probably want to have things a little bit more clean. All right, let's jump into files. So again, we have our Sami picture here. It is a JPEG file. So this is a file because it's not a folder. It doesn't, or a directory. It doesn't look, you can't put things into this picture. It's just a picture. One of the most important things of a file is that all files will have some form of extension. So in this case, if we right click this and click properties, it will pop up and you can see that it has the type of file is JPEG. So the way that the computer actually knows that it's a JPEG is by this .jpg at the end of the file. You can see it right here as well, because I think I have Vue show extensions on this computer. So why do you have extensions for files? The simplest answer is so the computer knows how to open the file or how to interact with the file. The computer's a lot smarter these days, so it actually knows how to handle, or it can kind of determine some files. So for instance, we can change the file extension by just changing the dot here. So if we change this to .png, it says, if you change the file extension, it might be unusable. Okay, sure, that's fine, we'll change it. But it still renders it, right? It still knows that this is an image, and it's just treating it as a PNG here. Let's change it to .text though. So we're trying to make it a text file. Well, now it doesn't know what it is, right? We can double click this and trying to open this up in Visual Studio Code, which we'll download later. And it's just saying, I don't know how to render this. How do we read this? This is not a text file. But if we go back here and just change it back to a JPEG, yes, we'll change it. Look at that, the photo's back. Because the photo itself, or the file itself, has never actually changed. We're just telling Windows how to interpret the file. And in this case, it's a JPEG. So we're telling it it's an image. We've gone over folders or directories and files and why
each of them are important and how they're different. Folders or directories really good for organizing things. Basically keeping your other folders or directories and files organized into their own spots. And files, well, you need files in order to do basically anything. You can't just have a bunch of directories with nothing in them. And well, you could, just nothing would happen. And then with files, you also have the extensions of the file. So, why is that important? Because the computer needs to know how to actually interpret the file. So as a prime example again here, we got a JPEG. In the next video, we're going to be downloading Visual Studio Code, which is that program that popped up when I double-clicked Sami when it was a text file. And we're going to get to coding very, very soon. If you have made it this far, then thank you so much for watching the whole video. If you wouldn't mind clicking the like button on this video, it would be super helpful and it's free. And if you want to be notified for other videos in this series, then consider subscribing. Also free, and I'd really appreciate it. Again, in the next video, we're going to go over Visual Studio Code and then get to some coding. So thanks so much for watching, and remember, never stop learning.